Are you using Excel scenarios? You should be. If you are not, how are you going to be prepared for all of the situations that will affect your company? A company does the best planning they can. They hope for the best, but outside factors that are often not under their control can affect the company's bottom line. Scenario analysis is the process of analyzing possible future outcomes, which are referred to as scenarios, to see what impact they have on a business. Since none of us can predict the future, we need to anticipate as best we can what the future may hold, so that we can be better prepared for it. As part of our strategic planning, we look out to the near future, maybe months, for our short-term planning, and try to look further into the future for our long-term planning. We would like our business to be as flexible as possible to handle changes in the markets, the economy, public buying habits, supply of materials, rising or dropping costs, the cost of fuel and utilities, etc. Businesses plan for different contingencies using what-if scenarios. For example, if you are a farmer and your crops get flooded out, how is that going to affect your bottom line? How can you adjust to meet the situation? Do you have other farm ground available to rent? Do you have another available source of income? Do you have sufficient savings? 3 scenarios that are commonly used are a best-case scenario, a worst-case scenario, and a most likely scenario. Many of the ideas used in scenarios are based on methods used by military intelligence. The best-case scenario would be the best situation that you could hope for. As a farmer, that may include perfect weather, high crop prices, low gas prices, etc. A worst-case scenario may include early frost, low crop prices, and high gas prices. The most likely scenario would be the one you believe will most likely occur, which would be something between the best case and worst case. Excel has a scenario manager that allows us to save our what-if analysis scenarios so that we can view them whenever we wish. It also lets us create a comparison report of the different scenarios. Peaceful Meadows Farm cultivates 200 acres of corn. They have created an income statement for the current year. The owners of Peaceful Meadows Farm want to predict next year's income. They have come up with 3 scenarios: best case, where everything works out in their favor; a most likely case, which the owners have determined will be the most likely to occur; and a worst-case scenario, in which they are planning for a poor crop, high fuel cost, low sales cost, etc. The scenario manager creates summary reports for each of the scenarios. These reports display the cell addresses of the values that you are using from your scenarios. Cell addresses are pretty much meaningless to those reading the reports. Therefore, we need to assign names to the cell addresses. I will assign names to the addresses by first selecting the cell range, A3 to B3. Then hold down the Control key while selecting ranges, A6 to B8, A13 to B14, A16 to B17, A19 to B20, A22 to B23, A25 to B25. On the ribbon, click on the Formulas tab. In the Defined Names group, click on Create from Selection. Select left column. Click on the OK button. Excel will assign the names from the left selected columns to those on the right. In the Defined Names group, click on the Name Manager. You should see all of the named ranges. Click on the Close button. I will turn on formula viewing by pressing the Control key plus the tilde key to display the formulas. Gross income can be computed by taking the number of acres of corn times the price per bushel times the yield in bushels per acre. Total fuel cost can be computed by taking the gallons used times the cost per gallon. Total seed cost can be computed by taking the number of acres times the seed cost per acre. Total fertilizer cost can be computed by taking the number of acres times the fertilizer cost per acre. Total expenses is computed by adding the total fuel cost plus the total seed cost plus the total fertilizer cost plus other expenses. Net income is computed by subtracting the total expenses from the gross income. I will press the Control key plus the tilde key to return to normal view so that you can see the results of the formulas. I have assigned values to the variables I think would be most accurate for each of the 3 scenario cases. Before we create the best case, most likely case, and worst case scenarios, we need to create a current case scenario that takes a snapshot of what we have currently so that we return to the original values whenever we want to. On the ribbon, click on the Data tab. In the Data Tools group, click on the What If Analysis button. Select Scenario Manager. Click on the Add button on the Scenario Manager window to create the first scenario. Type Current Case for the scenario name. The changing cells are the cells whose values we will later replace with those from our scenario. Clear everything in the Changing Cells text box. Hold down the Control key while you click on the cells B6, B7, B13, B16, B19, and B22. Type over what is in the comment area. Type Income Statement Values for current year. Click on the OK button. The Scenario Values window displays. We want to be able to return to our original values, so we will not make any changes. Click on the Add button on the Scenario Manager window. Type Best Case for the scenario name. The changing cells are the cells whose values we will replace with those from our best case scenario. We will be using the same changing cells, so we won't make any changes to them. Type over what is in the comment area. Type Shows Net Income when using the best case scenario yield and expenses. Click on the OK button. The Scenario Values window displays. Here, you will have to replace the values with those from the best case scenario. You will have to scroll down to enter the value for Other Expenses. Click on the Add button. Type Most Likely Case for the scenario name. We will be using the same changing cells, so we won't make any changes to them. Type over what is in the comment area. Type Shows Net Income when using the most likely case scenario. Click on the OK button. Replace the values in the Scenario Values window with those from the most likely case scenario. Click on the Add button. Type Worst Case for the scenario name. We will be using the same changing cells, so we won't make any changes to them. Type over what is in the comment area. Type Shows Net Income when using the worst case scenario. Click on the OK button. Replace the values in the Scenario Values window with those from the worst case scenario. Click on the OK button. The Scenario Manager displays the 4 scenarios you created. Select Best Case from the Scenarios box, then click on the Show button at the bottom of the window. The values you entered for the Best Case scenario have replaced the values in the changing cells in the income statement, and all of the formulas were automatically adjusted for the change in data. Click on the Edit button in the Scenario Manager window. Whenever you make a change, the date you made that change will be recorded in the comment box. Click on the OK button. Changes can be made in the Scenario Values window to the Scenario Values. We will not be making any changes. Click on Current Case. Click on the Show button at the bottom of the window. The values in the changeable cells in the income statement have now changed back to their original values. Click on the Summary button. We will create a scenario summary report. It will appear on its own separate worksheet that Excel will create. The result cells are the most important cells that you want to see. They are usually the total cells that are affected by the changes to the changing cells. In this example, we will use the gross income, total expenses, and net income. With the cursor in the Results Cells box, click on cell B8, hold down the Control key, and select cells B23 and B25. Click on the OK button. The workbook now contains a new worksheet named Scenario Summary. The Scenario Summary shows the 4 scenarios, plus it shows what the current values are. It shows the value for each of the changing cells, as well as the cells we selected for the result cells for each scenario. Click on the Income Statement Worksheet tab. On the ribbon in the Data Tools group, click on the What If Analysis button. Select Scenario Manager. Click on the Summary button. The Scenario Summary window should still have cells B8, B23, and B25 selected for the result cells. You can store the same values that were in the summary report in a pivot table. Select the Scenario Pivot Table Report. Click on the OK button.